Okay, folks, here we are again. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with just apologizing. If you hear any background noise, there's nothing I can do about it. It's either that or I don't film tonight. Because there are other people visiting and they're watching the television and there's nothing I can fucking do. So, hey, Nordic, what's happening? So, I'm going to start things off with I thought this was the rest of my American vehicles, but I actually have a few more, which I'm not going to work on them. This will be the next batch. We're going to do the next group of Americans next. This is kind of the bin here. I guess I overlooked it when I had it. But let's pull this down here. I have a couple of M4A1 half tracks by Altaia. I believe that's who they're made by. And I also have, and I mentioned this monster the other day. This was a 1/72nd scale, supposedly. My Matchbox. And this is an M4A3 76 millimeter gun. So we're going to go ahead and take a look and see how it scales compared to the other ones. We got a couple of Fireflies in here, your favorite. And an Archer. This is, I guess, Brit stuff. But the other thing I have in here, I have a plastic, a Armor Fast M4, just a standard M4. This was like one of the first Armor Fast things that they made. It's very rudimentary, and somehow over 20 years or so, seems like it was 20 years, I lost the front mantlet to it. So I've got to remake that or do something. So probably the easiest thing is get another set of these and cast one in that plastic stuff that I have. And then that way this one will have a front to it. So, but this is just kind of a basic M4. We're going to have to wait on this one because I'm not going to order some Armor Fast stuff right now. But we have these guys right here. I said these were close to 1/72nd scale, and I'll be damned if they're not almost the exact same size. If this is an accurate 1/72nd scale M4A1, then the M3A1, which is, this has that 81 millimeter mortar in it. This one's damn near the same size. So you can't go wrong with these things for like $5. Blowing your nose is like going out of style. Big congestion in the head, ears, and nose. I'm doing great. I've started bike riding. I fixed my bike up and I've been going for a bike ride every evening now. I think 3 evenings in a row. So enjoying that. 3 in a row? No, I went Sunday. I went yesterday and I went today. So went and bought a little light for my mountain bike, and I had a mountain bike that we bought for each other. I think it was like on a first or second anniversary or something like that, a long time ago. And I used to use a bike for transportation, so I've got it like built into my psyche that it's not a big deal, but. Yeah, so we got these two to repaint. This is look at this ugly ass brown freaking color. This is just ugly ass. And this is another Sherman. If these are accurate, yeah, it's a little on the large size. But the turrets, here's the thing that's really whacked about the turrets. And let me get a third one out here. These are all supposedly, to the best of my knowledge, the same turret, okay? The 76 millimeter gun turret, I forget which one it is. I think it's called the T-23 or T-22, something. It's the turret that was on an experimental vehicle that ended up not being produced. So the 76 millimeter gun didn't fit in the standard turret that the Sherman had. So they went with this other turret on here, and all three of these are supposedly the other turret. All three of them are different. This one's particularly different. It's a little bit more like conical. This one's kind of flat, and this one's kind of in between the two. Do I care? No, because I have these and I'm going to use them, Temps swung up to 60 being 5 degrees. This global warming crap is annoying. Is it really global warming? I don't know. I think the Earth just keeps doing shit like that all the time. You think you can control it, Mother Nature on the rag. The irony of riding a mountain bike in Florida. Come up here and live at the base of the mountains. No, you need to. We gotta. They're building a construction site behind the house, so I go over there and play in the dirt. If you had a standard bike, you'd be like messed up. Really should call it a dirt bike, but then when you say, "Hey, I'm riding my dirt bike," they think it's motorized. You know, so 3 different turrets. So anyhow, so I've got these 3 American guys to do afterwards. And then we'll be done with all Americans that we have at this moment. Notice how I worded that. What else is in here? Let's take a look what else is in this bin since I decided to pull things out. I have a Firefly by Britannia. Not my favorite manufacturer by any stretch of the imagination. That I painted a long time ago. A long ass time ago. And then this is one of the ones I got from the estate sale. This is I believe this is a Matchbox Firefly. And this is an M4A4, also known as a Sherman 5 by... This is a crap model. It really is a piece of shit, but it'll probably paint up fine. I can't remember who the name of it is. Frontline, maybe? Frontline Wargaming. These are all Brits, including this Sherman Crab. It's also a Britannia model with all the little... Look at all those little morning stars on the bottom of it. So... And an Archer by BP Cast. And it's very rough, but it'll be fine. That's what we got in here, and this other Sherman. We got a little French FT-17. Look at this guy. I'm going to use it. Going to use it for the resistance fighters. And get out and walk, and you're going faster. Anyhow, let's put these things back. But that's what we expect to do after these. All right. Yeah, the only thing is I've got a mixture of plastic models, resin kits, die-cast stuff. So what ends up happening is you got to be careful when you pick it up because you might actually like pick it up with too much strength, so to speak, because you expect it to be something that's white metal and ends up being a really light plastic model. Stuff back. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Firefly is my favorite variant of Sherman. That resin 4 looks lopsided. It is. It's all cattywampus. Now you can do some British D-Day landings with a Sherman flail. I could. Beach cleanup. Beach cleanup at Sword Beach. Or Gold. Okay. So we were in the middle of painting the wheels before I ran out of energy and said, I can't paint anymore. I'm falling asleep. So hopefully that's not the case. It's only 8:15. I do have to work tomorrow, but it is what it is. So, yeah, the D-Day landings. I'm not really interested in doing D-Day landings or landings in the Pacific. They just don't interest me. D-Day landings would be better than landings in the Pacific. Landings in the Pacific, those poor saps, those poor Japanese saps. Not that I'm super sympathetic to them, but they got everything going against them. They're outnumbered. They have none of their own aircraft flying. They're getting bombarded by battleship-sized shells. Even a destroyer bombing you at 5-inch guns is, devastating. Just doesn't interest me. Like I said, if I had to do Pacific, if somebody held a gun to my head and said, you have to do Pacific next, I'm going to do Burma. I'm going to do Burma because I actually didn't know this. The Japanese were even launching offensives in 1945. Didn't work. Didn't go too well for them. Going to go play Normandy 44. Did which one do you have? You have Salerno? Was it a catalyst for reading more about the Italian theater and learning some new stuff that you weren't aware of? It's kind of like the Forgotten Front, you know. Certainly in the scope of how big it is. I mean, it's easy to forget like the Italians going into Greece or something like that, just because it's just the sheer numbers is not a whole lot of numbers, but I mean, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of folks fighting in Italy, and it's just kind of like, it's just dwarfed by the Eastern Front and the Normandy stuff. Same thing with Operation Dragoon, and that is I believe it was in August '44 where they landed in the south of France. Nobody games that. If Salerno 43, Normandy 44, North Africa 41, and France 40 on P500, which should be out next month. Japanese military branches couldn't get along. Hey, Kevin, just like the Italian branches. I'm sure there was fighting amongst the Allied stuff too. But the Japanese branches couldn't get along. You bring shame on your family. No, you bring shame on your family. Well, I do have about a platoon's worth of Japanese to paint. I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to them. I'd like to, just because they're not very PC looking. They got some guys that look like they got glasses, and a couple of them have some buck eyes and stuff. Not all of them, but it's like those guys could be a lot of fun. I think playing Japanese would be, give them to somebody who's like suicidal. But my rules, the face of battle, not my rules. I didn't create them. The rules I use don't actually have Japanese in them, but it'd be easy enough to add the weapons data and some characteristics to make them different. I don't think it would be that difficult. But right now, I'm kind of on a hiatus of painting figures to begin with. I've been painting nothing but figures for 18 freaking years. Hey, the Maroon Cardinal. Welcome. Possibly a Matchbox Firefly, judging by the armor skirts. I don't know of any other manufacturers who have them. Do I think it'd be better to put a unit label on the base itself or attached to the bottom of the base with a label hanging out to be read, or just the label on the bottom of the base? What unit? What are we talking about? You're talking about your infantry that you're doing? And if so, how many figures are on the stand? Because all those things are kind of important. If you have lots of figures on a stand, I think it looks better for the label to be seen, because it just looks more like a playing piece. There was this, I don't know who this painter was, and it wasn't, when I see something it's not even a period I'm interested in, like 7 Years' War, and they do a stellar job, like I'm salivating to play it. This guy had, and I have seen this picture on the miniatures page or something like that, but this guy had a whole units, and I want to say they were in 15 millimeter, and I want to say the unit was bigger than this. It might have been 50% bigger than this, and it was a whole unit of like, Prussian line, and it had different, and it was like, that just looked awesome. It just looked absolutely awesome. And that one had the unit label where you could actually see what it was, because it was like a museum piece. It just represented, what it is. I don't like labels on the bottoms of things, because the problem is if you have a label on the bottom of something, well, this is a bad example. I'm not going to label any of my vehicles, but you go and you pick it up, and then you end up putting it back, and it's not exactly where you put it. put it. You know, and there's some people that actually do that on purpose or, you know, by mistake. Of course, you know, since I'm going to be playing at my house, those people will just be shot. You know, we can do that here, I think. But, yeah, you know, you end up, but you end up moving them unintentionally. So all of my infantry figures are labeled, but they're not labeled underneath for that reason. Because they end up walking around, you know. Even if you don't want them to, they end up walking around. And I don't mind the label standing out if you make it look nice. You know, if you make it look nice, it just becomes part of the artwork that you're creating. Because, you know, let's face it, it is artwork that you're doing. You're creating a nice playing piece that'll inspire you about reading about what really happened in the conflict. So you play solo, but the opponent is a lousy, cheating bastard. Yeah. Yeah, he eats all your food, too, I hear. Doesn't ever want to take out the trash. You could go on. The only way I'd play a solo game now would be like I just film it. And then you guys are here with me, you know, which is actually what I intend on doing if I'm ever bored enough to start playing. I'll do solo shit. You know, because I'm not really interested in winning. When you're talking about World War II, I'm not interested in winning stuff. Not that I don't want to win, but it's the storytelling. It's the narrative, you know. Worse than that, the bastard drinks all your ginger ale and Sprite. I wish those two things had caffeine. You don't have to have a lot, just like soda. Ginger ale's good. Those are both good mixers. I forget if you drink or not, but I hardly drink. I like to talk about it, but I need to drink at work, so when I'm not at work, I don't really need to drink. And it's funny because I never associated gaming with drinking. Because I gamed at an early enough age that it wasn't legal to drink. Not that that ever stopped me, but I'm just saying it's just one of those. That and all my games always involve like thinking. Ed Allen, welcome. Man, we got some new folks in here. Excellent. Thanks for coming by for Skirmish Miniatures on fender washers. Why are they called fender washers? Do they go on fenders? I mean, you're not making that up. That's what they're called. I've sometimes used magnetic sheet salvo bases to dangle an optional label with stats behind a miniature. Hey, that works. I don't mind a metal base if it's round. If it's got corners, man, it can bite you. You could draw blood and stuff like that. Thanks for coming by, and good new folks. Grab a chair. If you're new here, I don't know, maybe you're a lurker. If you're a lurker, you know what this is all about. If you're new here, hey, we talk about all kinds of stuff. There's no butthurt here. So we're gonna paint this all in black. I don't like using gray for rubbery things, because by the time I dry brush it, it ends up looking grayish anyway. So if you start with a gray, it ends up looking like whitish, and that's not the direction I want to go in. I don't even know why I'm painting the 50 right now, because if we end up weathering it, I'm just going to end up redoing it. But okay, not bad for a freaking toy. Let's do the same thing with this one. We'll do all the black things on those, and then we'll go and look at the decals. We ended our evening the other day putting this pledge. What's this called? Not pledge. No, it is pledge, actually. Which I think last time I got it was a bear to get. Floor care finish. It actually smells really good, and it's water-based. And it just keeps you from having to spray it. Stop what you're doing and going out and firing up the airbrush and coating the entire thing in a gloss coat, which you end up covering over anyways. I can just put it spot wherever you want. And it dries in about 20 to 30 minutes. I should look at some examples of how other people label command decision miniatures. Grab a chair, FNGs. Don't forget to hit the numbers up on the sub to channel. Yeah. We hopefully you didn't come for medieval stuff. I'm taking a break from that. I don't know if I'll go back to it. It's not that I dislike it, but it's like I don't have the energy to do World War II and that. And I'm a World War II guy. I think you guys may believe that now, but I didn't mess with it for 18 years. And I'm kind of glad I didn't mess with it for 18 years because I learned a lot of new stuff along the way, and so much stuff is available now. We have access to so much information about the Second World War that we didn't 20 years ago. So, but we're just doing these to do them in the short term. This is my therapy. I don't have to go to the shrink because I do this kind of stuff. Long-term siesta from the stabby stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I did nothing but that. I don't like playing anything that's not going to motivate me to build new stuff or build things in detail. Like I was looking today at some desert vehicles, all right? And one of the things that I always came across is when you're talking about tanks that were part of the, or vehicles really, that were part of the 7th Armored Division for the British. You know, the Desert Rats. And I've seen model kits. You know, Desert Rat is basically a red square with a white circle in the middle and the Jerboa, the Desert Rat, in it in red. Everybody's seen it. Everybody knows what it is. Well, you'll see some markings for the 7th Armored Division, and it just has a white circle with no Jerboa in the middle of it. And I'm like, what's the deal on this? So I did a deep dive. And apparently, when they first started off, the symbol was part of a World War I unit. And in World War I, that's what the symbol looked like. It was just a white circle on a red square. And it wasn't until sometime in 1940 that they changed over to putting their Jerboa on it. So that's why I thought, oh, okay, I see these decals, and they give you ones that... So if you're doing something in 1941, you can't use those. You need ones with the Jerboa in it, you know? Mr. Skylab, welcome back. Named for their common use on car fenders. Not anymore. They don't have those anymore. They're not on my car anyways. I worked on my car last weekend. I figured, okay, I'm going to do some modifications, you know, cosmetic stuff, because there's YouTube video stuff on it. I said, I can handle this, and if not, it's too complicated, I can cry uncle and put it back together and say, you know what, we're just going to send this back. And I followed the instructions how to take my bumper off. I want to replace my horn, right? So I got a horn. I talked about this Sunday, I think. I had to do it on the weekend because I knew it was going to take a while. And took the whole front. I had to take the whole front bumper of the car off. The front bumper, the whole front of the car. Bunch of clips. Figured there'd be like 7 clips. Nah, there was like 20 clips or something like that. Took them all off. And everything was good. I didn't realize how much freaking dust was under there. But I work at a dusty environment, so I'm not surprised by that. And look at the horn, and there's a video on it, and then the stuff that I got doesn't match the video. And there's all these instructions about, okay, hook it up to the car battery and do all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to have, next thing you know, I have a battery that's getting discharged because I got some cheapo Chinese part or something like that on it. And then I'm like, all right, well, this wiring doesn't match the stuff in the video, and there's more wires than are shown in the video. Like, what am I supposed to do with them? It's kind of like, I'm like basically like a 7 or an 8-year-old that bought a Warhammer 40K figures, and I can't figure out the magic that this person did to paint them. I'm like, no, I'm out. So I ended up reassembling everything. I'm gonna send this stuff back. I'll call a pro to go and do that. I'll go and take it somewhere and say, look, I want to do this. I want to put the fog lights like. I don't want to mess with power. I just don't. It's spooky. I don't know what I'm doing. Best case scenario, I end up killing the life of the battery. Worst case scenario, those are short and I burn the car down, and then I have no way to get to work. I don't want to have to ride my bike to work. It's not the early 1990s. We're not doing that shit anymore. So, I didn't get frustrated. I figured it was a chance to. I picked the right freaking day for it. It was so cold. It was so cold last Saturday morning. I had to work to stay warm. And if I'm cold, it's freaking cold because I don't get cold easy. When it's cold outside, I want to be outside. But I would have loved to learn how to do that. But I needed a mentor to, okay, don't do that. Forget what the instructions say. You don't want to do that stuff. But wiring and car battery, that's just voodoo. I don't understand that stuff. So, sometimes it's better to punt. But man, I can't wait to airbrush again because I think I freaking solved all the airbrushing problems I was having. And it's all the airbrushing problems I was having. You go and you can't find a freaking video that gives you the answers. And I swear I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make an airbrushing video. I didn't want to make one. I've only been doing it for like less than a year, really. And I've encountered problems that I'm sure people encounter all the time. And you go and you watch these videos and they don't answer. They go around and kick the thing out. And the very first thing I'm gonna say is, what is the needle on your airbrush? It's a you got to get a 0.5. Start with a 0.5, and then all of this surface primer and stuff, you don't have to thin it or anything. The Vallejo, the AK, none of it jams up. Actually, the AK doesn't jam up anyways. But the surface primer and the sealant, which I don't have it in here right now, it's the Vallejo one. They're very thick. They're thickish. And if you thin this reacts very weird to thinner. It gets gummy. So you really can't thin it and have the same kind of... And it's actually really thin. It's just a weird material. But it doesn't work with the 0.35 that the airbrush came with. But with a 0.5, it's like a freaking breeze. So, but the airbrush doesn't come with that one. So it's like you got to spend the extra $30 for those two parts, and then you're good to go. And it's like, it was like the difference between using Tester's bottle paint and using the stuff I have here. It's just amazing. But there's no video that says, hey, listen, so I need, once I've got more of these things, I'm going to make a video of, hey, here's the shit people don't tell you about airbrushing, or here are these hang-ups you can end up having. Because I'm a pretty patient person. As long as it's not like, okay, I got to get this done tonight, or we have a problem. If I'm not in a hurry, I'm fine taking however long it takes. But so I know if I'm relatively patient when it comes to this type of thing, a lot of people aren't. And I don't, it's just an opportunity to keep people from being discouraged and saying, F this, I'm never going to do this again. When it's something so simple as, hey, just change the nozzle and the needle. Done. Assuming you're using quality paint, because this stuff is quality. Now the AK will go through the 35, no problem. But without even thinning it. So... Okay, let's paint old Shermie. Now, this one has, I believe, all metal track. So we're going to paint the track, the SS Camo Black one. So I'm just going to paint the machine gun. I didn't paint the road wheels on some of the other ones. I've always done it, and then I just feel like I'm wasting my time doing it. I'm going to go ahead and paint them. It's relatively easy to do. But when it's something painting related, I don't ever like. Well, it's not true. I do sometimes overthink it instead of just freaking jump in and just paint your way out. Because the reality is, if I don't like how it turned out, I know how to fix it really quick. It's not my first rodeo. Like, I've learned something doing this for almost 40 years. So, but the airbrushing is something else. It's never going to take the place of hand painting. I'm proud of being a hand painter. But the airbrushing, for sealing and stuff like that, base coating, it was a breeze. It was a freaking breeze. And it cleaned up really, really easily as well. Another thing somebody said is when you're taking the needle out, take it out the front. Just unscrew the front, pull the needle out of the front. Don't pull it out of the back. Because what happens is the front part of the needle, this is your needle, and this is the end where the paint comes out of. You got paint in this portion. So as soon as you pull it up this way, you're taking all this paint and you're putting it in places in the airbrush where it doesn't belong, where it doesn't even go. But if you pull it off this way, you're not getting any of that paint in areas where there isn't any. And I saw a video on that. I'm like, well, that's brilliant. That could save somebody a lot of work. So, but I did clean up. We put our Christmas stuff up the other day. Finally, cleared out the bench that's built into here in the garage, and that's where my airbrush station's going to be. Although I've been kind of painting in midair, so to speak, the airbrushing, and had no problem really whatsoever. But yeah, take it out of the front. Yep, don't pull it back because you draw the paint back to the airbrush. Yep. Ever seen the Japanese half-track ho-ha? I have not. Is it sexy? I don't think they probably made very many of them, did they? Let's take a look at it. Japanese. I'm gonna put Japanese half track first in front of ho ha, or I might get some things that might be amusing, but not what we're looking for. Japanese trap ho ha. Oh, that looks cool, man. That's a cool vehicle. Is it a copy from? Yeah, it looks Germanic. That's a good looking vehicle. You see airbrush at the store, you gotta always stick to hand painting, buy more trees and foliage. You may get some things I'd like. That's right, I bet you would. Ho ha! Things of the Asian persuasion. Yeah, that's a good looking vehicle. I am going to do some Japanese tanks at some point. So there's a couple things I'm leery of, and this is just because I don't jump in and paint them. Just thinking outside. French vehicles and Japanese vehicles, they both have hard line camos. And when done right, they still don't look right. I don't know if that makes sense. But sometimes when you look at things, you're like, this doesn't look right. Whitewashed camouflage schemes, even when you do them right, they look like shit. So I saw there was an article, and it might have been on the Excellent Flames of War website. I don't play Flames of War. I don't really like the rules, but their website is excellent. I'll give credit where credit's due. And their ideas for doing a whitewash vehicle, and if it's not there, then I apologize, but it's somewhere on a website that does all kinds of other things. They suggested to actually paint the entire vehicle white and then come in and dry brush the green. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm really nearsighted, and I'm going to notice that the paint is thicker on the parts where the whitewash isn't, and that's going to drive me bananas. So I can't do that. You have a weakness for Japanese and Korean women. There was a brief scene in the new Godzilla movie that showed some late war Japanese tanks. So I saw, what year does it take place in? Because I saw a still of a Maya class Japanese heavy cruiser. I don't know whether it was Maya, Takao, Atago, or what's the other one? There's four of them, anyways. Maya, Takao, Atago. I don't know. I forget what the last one is. Chokai. Okay, those four. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure none of them survived in 1945. There's not a whole lot of Japanese ships that survived into 1945, and the cruisers took a pounding. And I'm just like, okay, well, what, the ship nerd burglar in me, really? Oh, is Rick here? Fortunately, I have to go for the evening. Catch y'all later. Okay, 1946. Okay, did any of them survive the war? I don't know. Everybody says good things about that Godzilla movie. Doesn't have a stupid ape in it, does it? I'll end up watching it. Hey, I like big things that look like a dinosaur. I'm a fan of shit like that. Let's not do the tools yet. I like the tools to not be weather looking. That's just my personal preference. It's an opportunity for tools to give a little pop of some color. Even though they're not bright, it's just a pop of some color, and I'd hate to miss that opportunity. Nerd Burglar, there he is. There's actually somebody that has a YouTube channel called Nerd Burglars. I should sue him. Never mind, I should challenge him to a duel. I'm old school. Nerd Burglar. All right, let me go get a beverage. I'll be right back. Nerd Burglar alert. The tanks were a type. Crap. There's that damn heart we can't see. There's some Japanese tanks that are actually decent looking. I didn't say they were effective. I think a Hago is adorable. And I'm sorry, adorable is important to me. You know? These Stewarts are adorable. Hagos are super cute. And practical as shit, but, you know. Which is the ones I don't like? I don't like the Chiha with the short barrel. They're ugly. Short 57. Short 57 millimeter. It's like something they were using in World War One. A 6-pounder. Okay, let's look at... We got our decal sheets over here. Let's look and see what common M3A1 half track, and we're gonna get our pen and we're gonna write down where the common markings are on them, and see. I'd like to make all three of them different. Cheeto looks cool. All right, I got to look up what the Cheeto is. I played Japanese in World of Tanks. I hate that big one. What is it called? The Oni or whatever? That's ugly as shit. That makes a mouse seem sexy. That thing is ugly as crap. What did you call it? A Cheeto? The cruiser and Godzilla might have been Miyoko. Did it survive the war? I know one that was sunk very, very late was Ashigaru. It's the same class as the Miyoko, which was the last heavy cruiser that was built. The most modern heavy cruiser class was the Atago. Was those four? The Miyokos were the ones just before, and I think Nachi, Miyoko, Ashigaru. And there's one more, unless I have it wrong. They also have a pagoda, but their pagoda is a little bit more narrow. Okay, what was the name of that tank? Cheeto? Cheeto. Or it could have just been the wrong cruiser and, we call him out on him. Cheeto tank. That's a good looking tank. I agree with you. What crap gun is in this thing? Ooh, a 75 millimeter anti-tank gun? Ooh, 56.4 caliber. That's better than the Sherman one. Is this one of these that they only used them in Japan? Neither of the completed... Oh, so they only made two? Only two known to be completed. Neither of the completed Type 4 Cheeto tanks saw combat use. So sorry. 30 tons. A crew of 5, so they had a 3-man turret? Gave an armor penetration of 75 millimeters at 1,000 meters. What was the best Japanese tank that actually saw action? You just found out it was Takao? Okay. Takao, sister ship to Atago. Those two guys did lots of stuff going down the slot Guadalcanal. When did Takao sink? Takao heavy cruiser. Didn't they have their whole navy impounded though? All served during World War II. I mean, they're good-looking ships. Just about all the Japanese. I'm not a fan of the Aoba and the Kako class. With the Kako class and the Aobas. The Aobas were basically an improved Kako. I don't like the way of those two, but all the other ones. And then you had the Mogamis. Mogamis were originally designed with the 6.1-inch triples, kind of like the Brooklyn class, like cruisers. See, I'm a naval nerd. Because I gained that. Takao, when did she... She was surrendered to the British forces in September 1945, then sunk as a target ship in 46. This is wicked looking. I like those trunk funnels too. And a lot of the Japanese ships look really good at this angle. This three-quarter angle from the front. Yamato looks good at that angle. It makes their superstructure even look all more like condensed and stuff, like a little city. Not many, yeah. Y'all talking about Godzilla? Hoffman shows up. I hear the ringing in my ears. Godzilla talk. Takao and Miyoko both survived the war. You're gonna go see it in black and white. What's wrong with you? You might as well eat dog biscuits if you're gonna watch something in black and white. Huh? I hate black and white. God, I hate black and white. Okay, so them 381 half tracks. Yeah, the Japanese heavy cruisers are actually pretty good looking. Now, in a naval game, they got lots of weaknesses. Armor-wise, they got lots of weaknesses in them. Damage control is not as dishonorable for the Japanese, unfortunately. And it's funny because the Americans, they were like the best at damage control. You love it, black and white. I've never seen Seven Samurai because it's black and white. Sorry. I know it's great. Everybody says it is. I just can't stand black and white. Colorize is okay. Okay, so we're going to look at M3A1. You know what? Let's go straight to scale mates. Let's cut the crap. Let's go straight to scale mates. If you don't know what scale mates is, it is a great website that has pretty much it's driven by consumer. You know, people go and post instructions and decal sets and everything of their model. So in a way, if you want to order, say, a model of an A13 Cruiser Mark IV by Bronco in 1/35th scale, you can go in there and it'll have the full color instructions and all the parts that go in there. And, you know, sometimes there'll be completed models of it. Well, it's all community driven. And there's some incredible stuff on there. M3A1 half track. Okay, I don't care what scale it is. And we're going to look and see what they have. And let's just start off with Dragon. And so here's the description. Like, here's the description of all the kits, and actually has some box art to it. It is so much easier to just use my phone for this because I'm not smart enough to do that. You know, bring screens in and bring screens out. I'm a painter. I'm not one of those people. So I'm going to pick the first one, Dragon, and on here it'll actually say, if there has instructions, there'll be a little green button here. It says download, which we'll do that in a second. And here it'll say markings. And these are all the vehicle markings that they have for this particular vehicle that come in the kit. So according to this, there's 2nd Armored Division in 1942. That's a bit early. And then we have 1st Armored, 3rd Armored, and 4th Armored. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and download the instructions. And sometimes that's in color. And this basically gives you the breakdown of what's in the kit. See if we can adjust that. All the parts, I don't care about that stuff right now. I do. Sometimes it can help you solve where something is if you look at 1/35th scale model. And here's some markings. So look at that star on the very front. That's like bigger than the freaking thing completely. So we're not going to do that. Oh, here's some that have a freaking star on the door. I don't think I'd seen one of those before. That's kind of cool. Now here's the Morocco symbol. You think the best one is probably the Type 97 Shinhoto Chiha. Speaking to the Japanese, I've never heard anybody call the fighter plane the Zeke. A movie I think is better than The Seven Samurai as World War II is Japan's Longest Day. Japan's Longest Day? Not the longest day that we're all familiar with, that I've seen only half of it because it was black and white. Yes, I tried watching it and I couldn't watch it anymore. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Come on, take a screenshot. Thank you. Easy to save things like that before. All right, that one didn't take me as far as I would have liked it. Let's look at the old Tamiya kit. Well, here's the Hasegawa one. What's Hasegawa have? It only has one instruction on here, and it's super basic. I wonder if somebody's ever. You see his decal sheet down here? It says "Made in Japan" because the Hasegawa kit's made in Japan. I wonder if somebody put that "Made in Japan" on their kit. Hey, it's your model. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. Okay. So here's a star on the side. And one thing we need to look at is the numbers that these things have, because it looks like the series of these guys are fours. Kevin, you're the number expert. Do all the US half tracks start with serial numbers start with a 4? This one has 40652 and it also has 408 and this has U, S, and A with the dots above it. So what I'll do is I'll pick a number similar to that, change one of the digits, and move on it. I don't want the Zeke was the official reporting. Zero was just her. Just as I've never heard anybody say Zeke ever, never. Says yeah, I've just built a model of the Zeke. The who? Excuse me. Okay, so we have star on side of superstructure. Okay, what's this? Any decal things here? No. Okay, nothing on that one. Nito, yeah. Remember Nito? Nito is not exactly 6th Armored Division in Europe. Decal set from Star Decals. Actually has a number on it. 17. Okay, so we have a circular one. This is the old Airfix kit. I don't think I've seen this circular one on the side, the aiming point one on the side. So we've got this one on top of engine. I actually like doing this, what I'm doing right now, just to I kind of get a feel of. I'm still going to end up doing whatever the hell I want, but I kind of get a feel of kind of make my own determination on what's out there. This is that same. Maybe there aren't that many models of it. We're certainly not doing that. Boy, there's not that many examples of it. Where's the Tamiya kit? I know they make one. Wow, I actually didn't call it Tamiya. That's what we always would call it, whether it's wrong or not. Here's one for the 12th Armored Division. Looks like it's got one on the front. Doesn't say where they go. Here's another number code 401 9 432-S. Okay. That one's attached to field artillery unit. I'm not going to use that one. How come the Tamiya kit isn't here? I know they make one. Yeah, it's pretty smooth. Okay, let's do. That took me about as far as I could go with scale mates. So we're going to go M3, A1, half track markings. Let's do a Google image search. Oh, there's some juicy stuff here. Mm, nothing there. Here's one from Flames of War. So, small star on door. So I could totally see doing one with the star on the door and small, and then another one on the side of the hull. Here's one that's on the front, but not the little round thing. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. 40 for half tracks. Okay. You're the number expert, man. I appreciate you. I want to do things right if I can. I mean, there's no reason to do shit wrong if purposefully. Okay. Well, we can do these one at a time. I mean, we can just start. We know we're gonna do one of them with the circle with the hashes on it. So cut it out, set it up. All right. Let's make sure we use an X-Acto knife that is pretty damn sharp. Can I use one bigger than that? Wow, these are pretty darn big. Let's see what it looks like. I've never built a model of a Japanese plane or tank. Never. And I plan on doing both. Why not? Looks like it fits in there. One's going to be supersized. This one looks like it goes all the way across. Like the clear coat. We're going to put that one in there. We're going to make one big. We're going to make one big. Um, what the heck? These are star decals. This is Normandy in France in 44. This is a pretty useful one. Ooh, some of them have a little star on the back. That's cool. I like that. Let me save that. Okay. It is so much easier to surf this stuff with a phone. You don't have to say, okay, I want to hide it in this one place. Just freaking start saving shit. It'll store itself out. It'll sort itself out. Okay, another one, we're going to have a big yet white star. So we're going to do one of these on another one. And then the last one we'll do a little circular one. Toshiro Mifune. Is it called Japan's Longest Day? Japan's Longest Day. Japan's Longest Day. Epic war movie. Oh man, I lost my search here. M3A1 half track. M3A1 half track markings. Let's get the micro. It's the vinegar smelling one. Microset. I don't really use microsol much. Okay, so the ones that have the two biggest spots will have the two biggest things. So this thing's probably softened by now. Okay, we're going to put this on top of it. And where are my tweezers that are too expensive to replace? I got a pair of these tweezers from my dad. They're made in Switzerland. I probably got them from him in the mid 80s. And I'm like, man, it'd be nice to have another pair of these. And I saw how much they were. I mean, I'm worth it, but no. There's just some things that, no. That's a bit much. I got to justify things to myself. Well, this is interesting. There it is. There she is. That's the "don't shoot me, we're your people" symbol. New paper towels. I don't want to use that one up to soak some of this excess. I've been pretty happy with how this has turned out. After you dull coat this, it pretty much has no shine whatsoever. We might put some microsol on there, but it's not very bumpy anyways, but we might just do that. Okay? Now we do the star on the other one, which has the big surface area. I better start putting the third one in there. It won't be ready when we're ready for it. This one shows a whole bunch of them without the little break points in it. So let's do the star that we do that has round. Let's do one of these. I'm actually a big fan of these micro scale decal. They do a good job with them. They go off. They work really well. They're still made. That's important. A lot of decals are not making them anymore. Coincidence that the movie has inspired Shin Godzilla as well. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of all things Japanese, except cars. I would not want to drive a car that's not Japanese. Sorry. They got the best QC. Or maybe there's like, somebody written on there, like who worked on the car, and they jump off a cliff if something goes wrong with it. Big fan of Japanese cars. My car is completely made in Japan, according to the sticker, including the tires. That's a bit extreme. That's a lot. That's asking a lot. But hey, it just happened to be. Is there a movie about the 335-year war? Never heard of a 335-year war. Illuminate me. This is how you make all these vehicles interesting. You make them all different, give them a little bit of personality. And yeah, they're probably going to have junk on them too. I got extra junk and backpacks and stuff on there. I don't want to go crazy because I don't really want to buy another set of them, but make them each look different. And they're all going to have names, just so you know. I think it's just Japanese special effects films that get me. The rest I don't care much for. They make great models. They do make great models. Anime, I haven't found an anime I like. Sorry. I wish they did more movies about their samurai history and stuff, because they just. The Chinese do a lot of historical movies, so do the Koreans. But the Japanese, when it comes to making movies, it seems like they're all about, schoolgirls with Uzis shooting zombies and stuff like that. Just like, I'm not really interested in that. I mean, you guys have like a freaking rich history, man. Like, make cool videos about all your samurai warlord stuff. Nah, we'd rather make it about, such and such. Okay, so I got a problem. I'm not going to be able to put a star here on the sides. And the reason why I can't put a star on the sides, they have these half armored things that fold down, all right? And to do that, I would actually have to cut the decal in half and put some of it underneath the door or hand paint the difference. So I'd probably be more likely to hand paint it. I think I'm just going to punt on that one. Okay, two of these half tracks apparently have a star on the side. The other one does not. Do they all have a star on the rear? No. So, okay. So we got two that have a star on the side. Let's do that. Which size star is that? And are we out of them? Hadn't considered that. There's like this size, and I only have one. Well, Snapdragon. We're going to need to get more stars. Now, I've got sets that come from other stuff. Freaking Petting House. These suck. But I may have to go to them because that's all I have. And they suck because it's all one decal sheet. And it sucks because they're made in Germany. And Germans are known for making good things, apparently. Daimagen. Is there? Well, I haven't seen it. I've watched Ron. Ron is embarrassing. It's embarrassing that a Japanese story is like basically King Lear. Like, okay, look, they have their own history. It's not like you got to make Shakespeare shit. Netherlands versus. I can't see because of that damn heart. No casualties. Who cares then? Wow, I got 4 big ones here. Lots of small ones. All right, so here's what we're going to do to mix things up. Let's take 2 small ones. and they're going to go with one of these. And I'm going to take another two small ones, and then we'll go with one of these. And the one that has the small one up front will have the big on the side. Now the bad thing about these decals is they're all one sheet. In other words, they're not cut in the shape of the star or whatever. So you have a lot of extra film, and sometimes it's difficult to hide that. Now, I got Mr. Handy Dandy scissors here. We're going to try to trim this up some, so we don't have this extra material laying around. And that one can go right there. And we'll do the same thing with the other half. That heart is a pain in the ass. Netherlands versus who? I don't know what it is. Is it Siam, maybe? Never heard of the 335th year war. That's the big stars, right? The bigger stars? Sicily. What? Ron is in color, yes, but it's all, and I've seen it, but it's all make-believe heraldry. Make-believe clans, and it's not a Japanese story. It's fucking Shakespeare. That's just shameful. Like, I want to know about the Japanese stories, you know? So one of the things that's common in many Japanese movies that I've seen, Ron being one of them, is you'll have this, and I don't know whether this is a specific to Japanese films or this is a particular choice the director, the Kurosawa did, or maybe it's the Mifune's style of acting. But you have this character, and it happens in the Chinese films too. A couple of Chinese films that I had. You've got this guy that's basically all business. He is an ass kicking guy, whoever he is. Just think of, Sergeant Barnes from freaking Platoon, okay? Somebody who's a warlord that is held in high esteem by his co warriors, and he's all business. And within this character, there'll be scenes where the character is over the top like a jester, like just doing really foolish stuff, almost kind of this bipolar type of thing. And a lot of the Japanese things I've seen have that. And I don't know if that is just a style that the director decided to do it in, or maybe that's something that's unique to Japanese cinema. But I find it really strange that they almost go into almost like a cartoon character, and then they'll be back to their like serious self. Yeah. So yeah. See, this entire thing is completely square, and that's a shame. Looks good though. We'll be able to hide it. Want to move it a little bit though. Just like that. Okay. And then we'll go to the other side. It's on this side of the gap. Mind the gap. And I tried watching those things. Don't they have a whole miniseries of Romance of the Three Kingdoms? And I tried watching it, and I was like, it just got freaking bored. And man, I know all those guys. I mean, I played enough of those damn video games. I know them. We're gonna put one of the ones on the back. Let's do one of these small ones on the back. And let's cut it down to size a little bit. Yeah, I've never driven a vehicle. It's not a Japanese vehicle. I wouldn't know what it's like. I rented I took a trip for work one time, and they gave me a Chevy Lumina or something like that. That tells you how long ago it was. Like, here are the keys. You're gonna drive to Orlando and grab the flight. I think I was going to one of the other plants or something like that. It was a long time ago, like 2005 or 2004, one of those 2 years. Took me 15 minutes to figure out how to turn the freaking lights on. They put stuff in the wrong place. You get in any Japanese vehicle, everything's the same way. You know, lights on, turn signals. This. You get one of them German vehicles, everything's backwards. You got to turn signals the wrong way. You go to turn signals on, you turn the windshield wipers on, all kinds of crap. Like, no, I'm sticking with the Japanese stuff. Thank you. These things are going to look sexy. It's actually a good looking vehicle. I think an M3 half track is a good looking vehicle. And the interesting thing about an M3 half track versus a 251 is the 251 has almost double as much armor as the M3 half track, which just really doesn't mean it's got that much armor. It just has double the armor. But but this has got a 50. So if you put the 50 versus the 251, and you take like an MG34 or MG42 versus the armor here, they're kind of equivalent, you know, because the 50 punches a lot more than a 7.92, but the 251's got more armor. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if that plays out. But I'm not really sure what the capacity of these guys are. I'm pretty sure these guys have got to carry like 12 people. Because American squad is, by books, 12 folks. Whereas the German one's 10 at full strength. Obviously, there were variations at different times, different conditions. But the U.S. squad was one of the bigger squads of all the nations. You know, numbers of folks in the squad. U.S. was one of the bigger ones, if not the biggest one. Although I want to say somebody has a 13-man squad or whatever. Might be the Italians or the Japanese. I think the Italians don't have an assistant squad leader though. There's one guy trying to do it all. Okay. That one's down. Okay, let's cut these two down to size. Because these are smaller. Thought I had plenty of stars. Oh well, an excuse to have to buy more things. Try to make do with what I have before I buy things. Otherwise, all you do is order shit. You need to enjoy the stuff that you have, not the stuff you don't. Because decals do go bad after a while. They do go bad. Although I suspect that it probably has to do with if there's some environment that they get extremely dry. I had some decals that just literally shattered to pieces like they were glass. I could probably hand paint these stars, but I don't have to just paint one star. I gotta hand paint a bunch of them. So I'd like for them to look consistent. Like, which one has the gun on it? Of what? Well, these all have guns. They all have 50 cals on them. In the pulpit, so to speak. You talking about the M3 howitzer motor carriage that they used in North Africa? That has a 75 millimeter gun in it. It's the first tank destroyer. With the yellow stars. These tweezers are something else. Kevin, is Arizona a good place to visit if you don't like Mexican food? I have a feeling that's all there would be there. I could be wrong. Of course, that was Colorado also. I was surprised how much Mexican food there was in Colorado. I figured Colorado was like steak and potato land, right? There's Mexican food around every corner. It must be really cheap to make. Must be high profit margin on it. And this one, I'm actually going to take it and I'm going to move it behind this gap. Just give them just a little bit of variety. Yeah, I think it's M3 howitzer motor carrier is what you're talking about, as opposed to the M15 that has the quad 50s. You know, when you're looking at a skirmish scale type game, what advantage does a 50 caliber really have? Well, it can suppress vehicles. It can attack vehicles for starters, but it can suppress infantry that are in hard targets. You know, you have infantry that's in some kind of cover. It can basically negate the cover because the shells can punch into the structure. So you think you got some kind of a cover? Well, the freaking shells go right into it. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter that you're in a wooden building. It's basically, it can go into it. I mean, sure, it's better than nothing, but because the rate of fire on something like a 50 caliber isn't impressive. It's just the fact that the shells have that much penetration. What don't you like about Mexican food? It's a food I grew up eating. I get tired of it. I like Tex-Mex. I just don't like it can be bland at times, and it's not because it's spicy. And a lot of it is like pre-masticated. Looks like I don't really care for traditional Mexican food. So Tex-Mex, big fan because I really like cumin. I love cumin, and that's one of the spices in that. It's not really a spice in the Mexican food. Now this. Oh, you know what I really like? I didn't even know that it existed. That hatch stuff. That stuff's good. I didn't know about that until I went to Colorado. There's a lot of hatch this and hatch that. One of the things I actually like, a good one of, is a chimichanga, but I want to make sure that the sauce isn't on it. Otherwise, it just turns into mush. And it's a lot of one of those things, like red pasta sauce is kind of the same way. Like everything ends up kind of being the same thing, you know. We got it all. Probably just as many Chinese food restaurants. Well, those don't exist to me. They're dead to me. They're dead to me. Okay, well, hopefully the edges on them can disappear. If not, we'll pick them up and we'll get rid of them. But I have them here. I might as well use them. One thing I would never order is between me and Chinese food. It was good when I was a kid. It's not good anymore. Um, I just don't really care for it. And it makes me feel like now what I do like is Indian food, but I don't know what that stuff's called. We went to a real Indian restaurant this last year, and the menu was in English, and it might as well have been a foreign language. I got to eat with pictures. Really, the biggest sin in food is that something is bland. I mean, other than it being a taste maybe that you don't like, but I like the taste of most things. It's yeah. There was this one place. There was this Chinese restaurant in town that had awesome egg rolls, and then they closed down. Like everything's like a lot of them. Like one of the big things about restaurants is I wanted to take you somewhere else. Like right, you're already eating the food. It's like your opportunity of kind of traveling a little bit. And a lot of these these ethnic type restaurants, they don't. I'm not saying that American food ones are any better because there's bad examples of those as well, but they just don't have any atmosphere in the restaurant. You'll have an Indian food restaurant and it's called Indian food. Like they don't even have any creative name. Like, dude, call me up. I'll come up with a cool name for your restaurant. And then they have four white walls, like, and there's nothing on them. It's like they look like this. It's like I need some inspiration, man. You know, I need some inspiration. Okay, so this one has a star on the back. These two don't. I'm okay with that. Chimichanga supposedly invented in Arizona. I believe it. I believe it. Okay, so we're gonna set these guys aside because we want those things to set pretty well before I go and mess with them. It's funny, this one with this huge star doesn't bug me. I would have thought it'd been like an eyesore. Really enjoy Indian food too. Yeah, I like it. I just don't know what the stuff's called. So like when we go on like cruises, almost every cruise we've been on, the kitchen, the head chef, and damn near all the kitchen staff are from India. And they always have what I like to call Indian corner. They have, no matter what meal they're serving, they always have a little area where there's 8 or 9 or 10 different Indian dishes, and it'll tell you what it's called there, and you can see it and you can smell them, and it smells wonderful. And they go in rotation, but it's like, I don't get an opportunity of eating things like that very often. So yeah, I always try to eat as much Indian food as I can on the cruise. You know, really enjoy Indian food. So many choices. I only go to one Chinese food place here. Many around here are buffets, or the food makes something feel super weird. Makes me feel super weird. Yeah. Yeah, we had this Pan Asian student type of restaurant. It's a chain, and it's Pan Asian because there's all kinds of different things. And one of the things they had was this dish called Singapore noodles, and it was like a stir fry, really thin noodles in like a curry sauce. It was spectacular. And then one time I had it that literally tasted like fuel. Like something was off. Something spilled on it, or somebody else made it. They had a kitchen. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the problem was, and it was just really inconsistent like that. But a really good one. I freaking love curry. I love curry. It's wonderful. Okay. Are we good with not having anything on the back of these two? I think so. I do want them. I do want them to be different. Okay. Now, Shermie. Okay, Shermie. Let's look at some pictures of M4s with a 105 in it. I think we saw some of them that had some markings on them in white with like the numbers and stuff like that. All the numbers on the other ones are yellow. So M4 105 millimeter Sherman. We'll probably get pictures of Super Shermans, which I think looks super sexy. Okay, I like this round one on the front. Let's get one of these. And this is a solid one. Let's drop that joker in there. We have a restaurant serves the other Indians, Native American food. It's high class. Huh. Never had Native American food. I mean, I've had quinoa, right? Corn. What else? I don't know. I don't know what else. Sorry. We don't have Indians loose in Florida. They shipped them to the freaking ends of the state where nobody's at. But really, I mean, they're like hidden. Got to get going. Got some schoolwork to do. Ooh, yikes! All right, man. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good evening. Schoolwork. Wow, I'd rather do employee reviews or Well, one's just as bad as the other. All right, we're going to have to do a petting house on these. Is there only two here? Yeah, there's only two. And there's two that are smaller. Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and knock all four of these out. But we got to cut these down because these are all on one sheet. Mr. Jacques, welcome back. And this is pretty annoying because I can barely see where the edges of this is. The edges of this are B. Oh man. Sometimes you say things you don't mean to say. Believe me, I'm a good speller. I is. Coffee time. There you go. I don't know how to get anything done without coffee. And I'm actually don't really like the taste of it. I don't hate the taste of it, but you go from I don't know how I'm gonna do this to like, is that all you got? Bring it. I think South Africa is one of those places that has really good coffee. Why am I thinking that that is one of those places? Although I don't like hot coffee, I drink everything cold. My internal body temperature is like 211 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 99.5 for you Celsius folks. The only thing metric I don't like is the temperature. I just don't find it very useful. And people say to me, well, how can it not be useful? It's real simple. Freezing 0, boiling's 100. Well, here's the reason why. You're only using the bottom 40% of it. You don't talk about anything that's 60 degrees centigrade ever. It's either negative, negative a few degrees, or, up to 40, 42, right? I don't think it's ever warmer than 42 degrees centigrade. It'd be freaking hot box. So it's the same thing. It's a perception issue. You have to kind of do the math in your head. Kilometers make sense. Meters make sense. Except, millimeters, centimeters gets used. Sometimes the problem is and I've mentioned this so many times, is you got things that are about 2.5 feet long. So under a meter. And then because decimeters don't really get used anywhere, you're using centimeters. So you've got these huge numbers that define something that's really only about this big. So you have to kind of say, okay, well, let's back out and do that. So you have to do a little bit of mental calisthenics. But this game will use meters. I am meter friendly, and I actually like stands on millimeters. I hate quarters of an inch. They're stupid, and sixteenths and 5/16ths, and that's ridiculous. The U.S. should have gone to this. They should have, if they weren't going to embrace the metric system, they should have gone to engineering scale. So you can use inches. You just have to break down your inches into tenths. That's it. That's the rule. You don't want to do that? Sorry, you got to go metric. Let's talk about whole numbers or half numbers, and that's it. Nothing smaller than that. Just ridiculous. but I'm in the minority. You know, when I went to Canada, all the speed was in kilometers per hour, no problem. You've experienced 55 degrees Celsius? Wow. Wow. Let's see. $55 Celsius to Fahrenheit. Woo! Woo! That's an oven temperature. You always wonder why no one else had 50 calories in World War II. But find out the Japanese 12.7 pretty much is it. Well, remember the Soviets had 14.5 and still do. I mean, if they've got any of them running. 14.5, that's what's in those BTR 80s and stuff like that. Their anti-tank almost 14.5. Well, the Germans had lots of 20s and 30s. You know, the U.S. had weird shit. Like they had like some of the early anti-aircraft guns. I think they're pretty early war. They had 1.1 inch, like 28 millimeter or something like that. Like what the hell's wrong with you? You know, make up your own number. You know, that's just weird. Like the early anti-aircraft guns and like the Lexington and stuff like that were. They had some 1.1 inch guns. I'm like, what even is that? So, but I'll tell you what. As much as I like the metric system, I don't call a Pac 40 a 7.5 millimeter centimeter gun. It's 75 millimeter. End of it. You know, it's weird to call it the, you know, this in the centimeter variety. I don't. The difference is Browning's magnificent design, better than the rest. He designed the 50 cal as well, the Madus. Should call it the Mados. Let's make sure the star is about here. Straight across from that. Let's move a little bit forward, farther forward. Okay, Skylab, thanks for stopping by. All right. I'm going to stop here shortly too and put these last two decals. It's nearly 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I got to go to work tomorrow. I don't like Fridays. I'm burned out. And nobody wants to work on Fridays. So you're trying to get stuff done when nobody else wants to work. Yeah, staying up till 10 o'clock, that's late for me. I'm up at 5 a.m. every morning. Just because. You know, put me in a bad mood, make me wake up at the same time everybody else in the house does. And I don't have my time to myself. I'm grumpy. Let's move this one, shift this one up a little bit. I feel like it's shifting down on me. It's okay. This is super forgiving. You can move this a bunch of times as long as you use care. For some reason, the top of it is setting. Damn you, petting house. There we go. Man, the music's freaking loud on that show. Well, like I said, there's nothing I could do about it. It was either that or I'm not going to go online and paint. So here's the stars on the Shermie. Probably do something a little bit different. Probably put a white number on it since it's a little. This is a later war. It is an M4, but it does have the later pattern tracks. And yeah, so here's the decals of these vehicles, and they're already looking infinitely better than they did before, even without the weathering. I'm sure they'll turn out just fine. And this is where we'll pick them up where we left off. So, as always, thanks, folks, for stopping by. Appreciate the new people coming by and do some chit chat while we're working on our hobbies. And we'll catch you guys, if not tomorrow, then definitely this weekend. And we'll see you guys soon. Enjoy your Friday. Bye-bye.